The library was her little hideaway, a soft cocoon where the world blurred into gentle quietness. Here, she could simply be herself, wrapped in the hush of pages turning and lost in the mellow scent of old books. Sunlight slipped in through tall windows, laying warm golden puddles across the long wooden tables, from where she was seated, with a book in her hands, lost in the world of fiction. Here, every footstep was a secret, every whisper a thrill, every hush a soothing memory. She loved the way silence settled around her, like a blanket she could pull close, keeping herself out from the sharp edges of the world. It was in that gentle hush that she first saw him. He sat in the farthest corner, by the window, always alone. Headset plugged in, head bowed over a battered notebook. His hair flopped carelessly into his eyes. The black beads on his right wrist shone gently under the library lights. She tried not to stare at him, but her gaze wandered towards him again and again. The way his hair caressed his eyes, the way his fingers rustled them back, and the way the corner of his eyes crinkled in a hidden, mischievous smile, mesmerized her. Sometimes she'd catch herself holding her breath, wondering what he was writing that made his brow furrow so deeply, or what music filled his ears that he got stilled in the moment, which turns into minutes and at times hours. There was something about him that pulled her, like the old clock on the wall, always there, quietly marking time, waiting to be noticed. At first, it was just glances stolen over book spines, a flicker of curiosity she tried to ignore. Then it began to become something she looked forward to. At times when he faced away from her, she would pass by his table to get a book and would linger there a moment longer to get a glance of him, and her heart would flutter with excitement. Unbeknownst, she memorized the way his shoulders hunched, the pattern of his pen tapping, the absent-minded way he tugged at his sleeve. Her longing grew quietly, almost painfully, in the soft hush, always reaching toward him, never expecting to be reached for in return. He seemed so far away, his focus impenetrable, his world closed behind the soft shield of his headset. She never dared to imagine anything more but one-sided admiration. Not until one evening, when the library lights softened into blue shadows and the world outside melted into dusk. She passed his usual spot, expecting him to be there, scribbling away. But his chair was empty, but a pair of black headset remained, worn at the edges, wires tangled like a secret with his notebook lay open, words scattered in neat, carefully designed calligraphy. She stood hesitantly. Her heart thudded in her chest, uncertain. She should have left them for lost and found. But something tugged at her, curiosity, maybe, or something gentler and more reckless. Before she could talk herself out of it, her fingers curled around the headset. They felt warm from his touch, heavier than she expected, as if they held a piece of his world. She tucked them gently into her bag, her hands trembling with the thrill and guilt of it. Then her eyes drifted towards the notebook, which soon followed the headset's pathway. She was seated in the bus by the window seat. The night's gentle breeze caressed her hair as she leaned on the window. The gentle rhythm of the music engrossed her brain back to him. His gentle yet manly features, his boyish smile, his eyes, which once caught her red-handed. She closed her eyes, and her fingers ever so tenderly traced her hidden treasure in her bag, hidden away from the chaos of the world. That night, in the stillness of her room, she turned the headset in her hands. Her heart fluttered, a nervous excitement lighting in her chest. What if he missed them? What if he came back looking for it? What if he knew she had them? She pressed the soft, worn pads to her ears, her breath hitching, and plugged them in. Music filled her world. Not just any music. It was his music. Songs carved with longing and hope, lyrics like secrets whispered in the dark. Each track felt personal, a story meant for someone special. She lay in the dark, listening, letting the music seep into the lonely corners of her heart. Some songs ached with yearning, others soared with a bright rush of hope. She imagined him choosing these songs, humming along, maybe dreaming the same dreams she did. For the first time in ages, she felt close to someone. For the first time, she craved for someone who is unaware of her sole existence. Everything became so overwhelming that her chest felt tight, her breath suffocated with tears prickling at the edges of her eyes, not from sadness, but from the ache of wanting, of reaching towards someone who might never notice her. In the morning, she slipped the headset back onto his desk, careful to place it just the way they were left the day before. Besides, she placed his notebook carefully. The thought of handing it over to him in person had entertained her, but the fear of disappointment and hesitation had uprooted her courage before it could bloom. Due to the wind through the window, the notebook opened and a few pages flicked past. She placed her hand firmly on both headset and book to sustain them from falling off. After securing the headset back to its place, her eyes fell on the page of the notebook in front of her. She stood frozen at the sight of it. Her hands were shaking in disbelief. It was a sketch of him and her. Every line was carved with such delicacy that her breath hitched. In the sketch, both were sitting in a cozy cafe, holding hands while he was staring at her so lovingly, while she was staring at him with a slight blush. Down there was his name, tagged with hers, and a word highlighting. Date? Securing both the headset and the book with the support of another heavy book, she left hastily to continue her work. She settled a few tables away, book open, but her eyes flicked to the door with every soft footfall. She couldn't believe what her eyes had witnessed. He asked her out. Was it for her? What if it was for someone else? But the sketch details resembled her and him. Her glasses, her freckles, and her mole on her cheek was crafted in it alongside with his messy hair, his boyish cheeky grin, his black beads. Each creak of the floorboard sent her heart racing with anticipation, a wild hope and fear tangled together. She braced herself for disappointment, for him to simply collect his things and slip back into his world, acknowledging her lack of response. Her legs twitched to go to his table, and to go through the book all over again, and possibly write a yes. But she hasn't. She just couldn't muster up the courage to do so. He arrived late, hair tousled, bag slung carelessly over his shoulder. His gaze went straight to the desk, then, just for a heartbeat, to her. Their eyes met, and in that moment, she felt every secret, every silent wish, exposed beneath the library lights. Her heart pounded. But he didn't look away. Instead, his lips curled in the tiny, shy smile, a gentle acknowledgement, a flicker of warmth that seemed to say he'd noticed her, always. He sat at his usual place and brushed his fingers over the headset, and slipped them on. His eyes wandered towards her again as he pressed play. In that quiet moment, she felt embarrassed with a sudden rush of emotions in her heart. Her face turned into a slight reddish shade under his gaze. She wanted to turn away but was afraid of letting him go. He slowly, deliberately walked towards her table and sat across her, his face adorned with a slight blush. He placed his things by the table, and she noticed the exact book with the exact page towards her, which she had witnessed moments ago. He unplugged one of his headset and placed it over the book and gently moved it towards her. She stared at him. His face, shining brightly under the dusky sunlight, was adorned with a deep red shade of blush. She picked the other side of the headset and plugged it in. As they shuffled the pages, Their fingers trembled while their hearts splurged with excitement. The library faded into a gentle hush. Between them, the possibility of young first love shimmered, fragile, tentative, but real. No longer just curiosity. No longer just her silent longing. If anything, it is perhaps the smallest beginning, blooming quietly in the shared hush of the library.